I got to the shop, because I had to get probes. I talked to him last night. Oh, I had to find them. And no, they weren't even at the shop yet. So
Yeah.
in fact, John, as I was coming down the road, was getting to the shop.
Yeah.
Wintertime, it's a little later, a little later, a little later. In the spring, it starts getting earlier and earlier and earlier.
So you can see the clay layer right there. And then there's, you know, almost a foot of rock that they put to backfill against this house. And basically any water or rainwater that was landing in this area was just soaking through that rock, getting through and making this crawl space wet. So here we're a little bit below the clay, you know, below that rock line. We're gonna put filter fabric in here and a pipe and backfill all this with 57s. And that'll just act as a big sponge to soak all the water out of this area and keep it from going in the crawl space. So this run back here was pretty fun. You can see where the probes and shovels were. That's where there was a septic line we went over. What we just found there was basically an old telephone line. You can see the power panels are just to the left there. I find a ground wire to the ground stake. That other line he just pulled out there was something that I believe went to an old satellite dish. And right now they're basically digging around the ground line that I found, again, just bare copper wire. There was also plumbing going to a wood stove out to the right, and power to that wood stove, and also power and water to a temporary camper that they had out there that they used while they were, you know, building the new house. So I was able to go slow enough through there where I didn't really damage anything. The phone line and satellite cable he cut because it was just kind of in my way, but thankfully we were able to get through everything else without any damage. Interesting story about this job. So this house right here is brand new. It was actually completely destroyed in the tornado that we had last winter. So you can actually see the line in it which it went. That new house up there on the hill to this new house here is basically the path that an EF4 took through Kentucky. And I'm down near Hartford, Kentucky right now. And you can see all these trees that are down here in this tree line just bent over, broke over, just like mowed over trees all along there, that tree line. And then it went up, and if you can probably not see it in this video, but those two hills right there, it kind of went in between those two hills and kept shooting up that way. I did some volunteer work down here, actually in Bremen, Kentucky, doing some storm cleanup, you know, immediately afterwards. And I'm actually here helping out a group that does kind of like a Christian charity to assist homeowners with rebuilding and things like that. So I'll take a minute here and talk about the iDig system, which is a 2D grade control for this excavator. There's a sensor on the bucket, a sensor on the stick, and a sensor on the boom, and a sensor on the cab underneath my chair that all kind of work together to help you dig on grade or on slope on some parameters and things like that you can set on a computer screen that's at the cab there with me. So what I did on this entire job is I never even set up my laser. When I went to that high end where I started, or right here where I started, I basically just touched the existing ground, and I told the computer I want to go a foot deeper, and I want to slope it 1% towards the machine as I dig. And I just repeat that process anywhere there's a high point. Then once I get my trench established, what you'll see here in a few seconds when I move, what I do is I touch a point of the trench that I'd already dug and slicked up and that I consider to be, you know, good on grade or on slope there, and I touch that point. Then I continue digging after I'd moved. So that acts as like the reference point or the benchmark to continue that depth or that grade and still pull 1% as you move towards the machine. So those sensors know how far out you're reaching. So if you're reaching 10 feet away and you're pulling at a 1% grade, it knows to bring it down 0.1 foot as you get up closer to yourself or on that 10-foot swipe. So you'll see here in just a second, I reach out right now and I press a button on the screen, and that just set my new benchmark. Because when you track or move the machine, I mean, you could track up onto a hill or down into a hole, and so it doesn't really know what height the machine is at. But once you're parked and set in place, then you reach out with that bucket teeth and you press a known point, so that way it knows how high the machine is off the ground. Then when you start digging, it'll always know where those teeth are at. And I'll just say again, I dug this entire system at a 1% slope fall towards the low points without ever breaking out the laser. I was able to do it all just by reference. All right, got the long run back to the field tile backfilled. Just gonna mound that up, let it settle a little bit. And just a little backstory, this guy used to own a construction company. He's got larger excavators and a dozer and all sorts of, you know, tractors and stuff. So he'll be able to finish grade this out, you know, when it dries up a little bit and after this gets some time to settle. All right, almost sunset here. Do one final walkthrough. All this line up front, backfilled and ready to settle a little bit. Again, this is all backfilled with rock and wrapped in fabric. Ran out of fabric right about here, so we put straw on top of the rock like that to keep the rock clean as a filter. And then the fabric came to right here, so they had that area covered. But anyway, that's all looking good. He needs to get these downspouts connected quick here because it's supposed to rain soon. And the outlet for this side is right about here, and it goes out. There's a creek out there, and that was an existing pipe that we found and tied into. And this runs all the way here, uphill, uphill, uphill. Cuts in here close to the house corner, catches that downspout, comes around this corner, and the high spot here is about center of this house, just next to the door here. Got this area graded out. This had a lot of sand in it. Might have been where they had mortar mixed or something like that for the block layer. This area he wanted me to leave open because he was going to get more rock, and rock all this area is kind of a, I don't know, back patio, I guess. Oh, so then, like I said, the high point is about right in the center of this backside here. So then from here, it falls that way around to that front that I showed you. And it also falls this way around this corner, all the way down this house. Picks up 3 downspouts total. 2 there. And 1 here on the corner. So right here is the low point. And then we also went uphill back to that pad, the other side of that pad. So the entire house is surrounded or by the new drain tile we put in. And then from this low point here, it drains on out to a riser for the field tile. So that'll wrap it up. I got on this job about 8 o'clock in the morning. It is 4:36, so 8.5 hours basically, including unloading and loading, to get all this work done. And that was about 18 tons of 57s that we put in these trenches. Not a bad day. Wish I always had some help, because this would have been a 2-day job at least by myself. But here we go, head back home. We're about an hour away from the shop. You guys take it easy, like, subscribe. Catch you on the next one.